Before we get into the episode, I am thrilled to announce that the EntremD Business School is open for enrollment. The EntremD Business School is the only school of its kind for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. Over the last 2 years, we have had hundreds of doctors go through the school with unbelievable results. Some of them run brands, some of them run private practices, some of them are coaches, some have other kinds of service-based businesses or product-based businesses. And we've had people come in and cross the 6-figure milestone, cross the 7-figure milestone, cross the multiple 7-figure milestone. You will be in a place where you'll get the coaching, the community, the accountability that you need to thrive as an entrepreneur, especially in the times that we're in. So maybe you've been following me for a while. Maybe you've been getting so much out of the EntremD podcast and you've been wondering, how can I work with Dr. Una and the community more? Well, this is your chance. Come join us in the EntremD Business School. It is application only. So go to entremd.com/business to turn in your application. I cannot tell you how many doctors have made statements like this. I recovered my investment in the first week. I recovered my investment in my bank account in the first 90 days. This is the best investment I've made in myself ever. I want you to have that kind of story, not just a story of building a great business that serves a lot and earns a lot, but having a business that gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. So don't wait any longer. entremd.com/business. And now for the episode. Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntremD podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. Well, hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of the EntremD podcast. We are going to have an absolute blast because I'm going to be talking about what I'm going to be doing for the next 12 months for 2024. And this is going to be so good. These are the commitments that I have made, and I have decided that 2024 is going to be my best year yet. And I've come up with a plan to do it. And I want to share that with you because I'd love for you to be part of this journey and really, really radically transform your business and your life. Okay. And before I do this, I do want to say I am looking for people who are EntremD ambassadors, people who would spread the word about what we're doing here. I come on this podcast and I talk about things that I could easily charge tens of thousands of dollars for. And I do that because this is a time for transformation in the physician community. This is a time where we're changing the narrative. Physicians are going to be building these, they already are, but we're going to be known for building these phenomenal mission-based businesses. And when I say mission, I don't mean nonprofit. What I mean is going to serve a lot of people and is going to earn a lot of people. And it is going to be the vehicle we use so that we can live life and practice medicine on our terms. Now, I have been shouting from the rooftop for the last 5 years. And I know that in order to get the word out to the entire physician community, I would need your help. And so if you want to take up your role as an EntremD ambassador, I just want to invite you, like with every episode that we do, that you share it with the doctors in your life, that you share it on social media. Every time you do that, a different doctor will see that, and that doctor will go on to create change in their lives, and they'll go tell somebody else, because together, we can touch 100,000 doctors. And once we get to 100,000 doctors, we will completely change the narrative for the physician community. I have had the pleasure of working with the doctors in the EntremD Business School, and I cannot tell you, when you have somebody who is running a multiple 7-figure business, and they tell you that this last quarter, my business grew by 66%, and I have hired new people, and I've taken more time off, and I've had more date nights with my husband, and my relationships are better, and my health is better, I'm exercising, and all of this stuff. That can be the narrative for so many physicians, tens of thousands of physicians. We can end the burnout and the loss of autonomy and the lack of financial stability and how devalued we've been in the community and all that. We can end all of that. You're the Calvary. So I'm inviting you to be an EntremD ambassador. Take the episode, share it, put hashtag EntremD ambassador, recruit the people in your world to join you as well. But together, we are going to make everything change. Okay? All right. So let's talk about commitments. Okay. Now, 2024, I mean, I'm sure you can hear the smile on my face as I think about it, but it's going to be our absolute best year. And there is a place of dreaming it. There is a place of planning for it. So I just want to tell you how I'm looking at it. You can adapt it for yourself. You can own all of these. And really, this is what it's going to be. And if you want to say, hey, this is going to be my best year too, I invite you to do that. I invite you to do that. Okay. So let's talk about these 4 commitments. So the first one, these are disciplines. These are commitments. They won't always feel good, but I'm deciding to do them. The first one is I'm going to keep my 10X vision on my mind at all times. Okay. I am not going to think about it sometimes, forget about it. I am not even going to allow crazy thoughts of none of this is going to work. I'm not going to allow any of that to live on my mind, right? It may come once in a while, but I'm going to catch it. I'm going to send it to a dark place where it needs to go and stay, but not in my mind. And so I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to take a chance on myself. There's so many what ifs. What if it doesn't work? What if this? What if that? Okay, but what if it does? So since there's so many what ifs and I get to pick, this is the what if I'm picking. What if it works? What if it works? What if it's my absolute best hit? What if I 10X my life? What if, right? And so I'm choosing to keep that picture on my mind at all times. What does that business look like? What does it look like? And okay, so now the prereqs for this, if you're going to do that, is you're going to have to define what the vision for 2024. And I'm going to use business. You can extend it to your life. I'm extending to my life, but let me use business so it's easy and you can grasp the concept, right? So what does that picture look like? If this is December 31st, 2024, and you are like, oh my goodness. When Dr. Una said that on the podcast episode, I thought she was tripping, but I did it. Oh my goodness. Look at my business now. What has to happen in your business for you to say that? Define it. And after defining it, own it. Define it and decide, okay, I'm going to own that. I'm going to believe that. I'm going to work that. I'm going to work in line with that. I'm going to agree on it. I'm going to choose to keep that on my mind at all times. So define it, own it. That's something you're going to have to do. But then the commitment is I am keeping this picture on my mind at all times. I'm visualizing this. I am taking trips in my mind. I'm taking trips, like imagining what would that be like? What would it feel like? As a result of that, what my family look like? What impact would we have in the industry? What would it look like for the lives of the physicians that I serve? What will that look like? It will put a smile on your face. It will help. It will make you sit up straight. It will make you think about yourself differently because you're like, OMG. Okay. So that's commitment number 1. That's what I'm doing every single day. Keep my 10X vision on my mind at all times. Okay. All right. The second thing I'm doing, and this is so powerful. When I thought about it, I was like, oh my goodness, if I do this, the second thing is I'm going to spend 80% of my time on 20% activities. Okay. Now I'm going to stop and explain this. Many of you know this. Some of you don't. If you know this, a refresher is always good. 20% of the things you do create 80% of your results. It is work to figure out what that 20% is. And usually the 20% things, they're a lot fewer. Think 20-80, right? Like they're a lot fewer, but they're typically the things we avoid. In the EntremD Business School, we call them frogs, okay? Because Brian Tracy wrote this book, Eat That Frog, referring to things you're most likely to procrastinate on. So we call them frogs, okay? So I am deciding that I'm just going to eat frogs all year long. I am going to do the 20% things. They are the things that are uncomfortable. They're the things that will require that I grow. They're the things they're going to require putting the reps I become good at, but they're the things that actually move the needle. Okay. So I am making a commitment that if you look at my planner, if you look at the way I organize my day, I will be spending 80% of my time doing 20% things. These are things that you don't want to do them so much so that you can spend 2 hours on working on things that don't matter. So you can convince yourself that you've been working hard, but you know that you've been working hard at avoiding the real work. Okay. So I'm going to live there. It's going to be uncomfortable. But if I do it long enough, I'll get comfortable being uncomfortable and just sitting and doing 20% stuff. I'm going to be eating a lot of frogs. Okay. All right. So the prerequisite for that is defining the 20% and getting out of resistance. Okay. The commonest things, you shouldn't take all that. I shouldn't have to do that. I thought I passed the stage, especially as a successful physician who has already built a successful business, is I shouldn't have to do any of this. I should just chill. I should be in cruise control. No, ma'am. No, sir. Well, I mean, you can choose to. I hope you don't. But I'm deciding I'm going to live in the 20%. I'm going to do that. That's where champions live. That's where people who explore the full extent of their potential live, right? Okay. So that's the second commitment. The third commitment is and it would make sense, right? Like this should just happen, but no, I'm making a quality commitment. I'm going to do this. I'm going to spend less than 20% of my time on 80% activities, because the thing about the 80% is, well, some of them you're still going to have to do them. Like you do have to do them. But I am, if I'm going to procrastinate on anything, if I'm going to reschedule anything, it's going to be the 80% activity, not the 20%. So I'm going to spend 80% of my time on the 20. I'm going to spend 20% of my time on the 80, right? And if I do this, nobody's ready. I'm not even ready for my 2024, okay? Now, a prereq for this is you must define it. Like I had to define it. Like you have access to your email all day, every day. Like there's nobody who runs a business like the business you're trying to run who does that. They just don't exist. There are a lot of administrative stuff you do that there is nobody who runs a business that size who does that. I had to identify what are these 80% things. I made a list of them so I can look at them and say, no, I don't, if I must do them, because many of them are things I can delegate. Some of them are things that just flat out don't need to be done. But if there's some that I need to do, I am doing them in less than 20% of my time. Okay. All right. So that's the third commitment. The fourth commitment is I'm going to fill my inner circle with 10Xers. Okay. So these are people committed to the 10X life. They're committed to, I mean, the first time I heard about 10X, right? It was from Brian Tracy. And Brian Tracy was like, whatever it is that you earn, just put a 0 there. And ask yourself, how could I do that? And so just think about it in terms of this is just a bigger life, a bigger goal. Even if you don't want to go 10X, that's okay. But a bigger goal, because the thing about a bigger goal is there are very few things you're doing right now that will take you there. You have to evolve. You have to begin to identify as the kind of person who does that. And you have to upgrade your skill and start doing new things. So the biggest reward of embracing these bigger goals is not really the goal. It's not the revenue. It's not all of those. Those are all good. I'm not discounting any of them, but it's who you become in the process. And that version of you shows up in every aspect of your life. It's so good. Okay. So now I'm surrounding myself with people who are on these growth paths, who are embracing daring goals, who are committed to growing, who are deciding we're going to eat frogs. We're going to live in the 20%. We're going to do things we haven't done before. We're going to do things that are scary. We're going to do all of those things, right? So I'm going to surround myself with 10Xers only. My inner circle. Now, you are going to have people in your world, like all kinds of people in your world, but this is my inner circle, the people I share my goals with, the people I come to when I'm discouraged, the people I share my wins with, all of that. Okay. And the prereq for that is you're gonna find them. Some of them are people who are not in your circle. You're gonna upgrade them. They may be people in your circle, but you're gonna share, hey, just like I'm sharing with you, like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do for next year and stuff like that. I'm thinking about it. What do you think? And some of them like, really, wow, I've never thought about that, but I want to do that. Bam, you have somebody new to add to your inner circle, right? Some of them are already in your world and they're already 10Xers, but you haven't engaged. You haven't leaned into those relationships. You haven't leveraged those relationships. You're not communicating. And so now you're going to lean in. You're going to lean in. You're going to go all in. You're going to engage with them. And then you're like, I surround myself with 10Xers. So even when I forget, I have built an environment that reminds me that I'm a 10Xer. Even when I'm discouraged, there's somebody else I know in my circle who was discouraged 2 weeks ago, and now they're crushing it. In my circle, in my environment, I have people who are literal vision boards. Like I look at their lives and I'm like, oh my goodness, that means that's possible. So this right here is so simple. Like if I know I don't I don't need anybody to tell me. I know that if I do these 4 things, my life in 2024 will blow my own mind. My business will blow my own mind if I'll do this, right? It's not easy. It's actually hard, but it's simple. And what it means is I'm going to be doing a lot less things. They're harder things because they're 20% things, but they're less things. I'm going to be doing fewer things and I'm going to be getting a much bigger result, right? Like I'm setting myself up for that. And this is my commitment. And for the EntremD Business School, this is our commitment as well. The entire EntremD Business School Vision Retreat, I spent selling on this idea and helping them to define that 10x vision for their businesses and for their lives, because we had 3 days, and spent the time telling them, helping them find their 20% and find their 80% and schedule their 20% and schedule their 80%. And we did all of this stuff and we're going on this journey before. And for those of you in the larger community, I'm like, okay, I want you to hear this and I want you to embrace this because it will rock your world. Now, I will say, if you really want to go all in on number 4, the inner circle, then you want to be in the EntremD Business School. There are not enough words to describe what that community is like, whether virtually in our Facebook group, on our Wednesday calls, our success groups, or when we're in person. It is so magical. You will have the privilege of being in a community of vision boards, being in a community of people who will encourage you, being in a community of people who will be there when you're disappointed, being in a community where it is okay to celebrate, where you can come and say, we crossed the $1 million mark and the crowd goes wild. It's not a place of jealousy and envy or must be nice or where you'd be embarrassed to say that. We celebrate that. We celebrate your new team members. We celebrate you owning your personal brand in a way you've never done it before. We celebrate all of those things and it's cool. It's great. So if you've been doing this on your own, this is not that season, right? Your community is an accelerator. Your community will make you go so much further, so much faster. And so I invite you, you can schedule a call with my team and get all the details and we'll help you decide if this is your best next step or not. We don't do high pressure sales. We're just not that kind of company, right? So EntremD.com/call and schedule a call with the team. Okay. But I want to invite you, regardless of whether you join us or not. I've already laid it all out there. Those are the 4 commitments. If you will make them and if you will do them and if you'll follow through with them, 2024 will blow your mind. And if you're listening to this at a different time, the next 12 months will blow your mind. Okay. Now, remember what I said. And actually, I want to invite you just to be an EntremD ambassador especially for this episode. Spread it everywhere. Imagine as physicians, if we did this, the entire physician community would be different in 2024. Imagine if we said, you know what, I'm not going to keep being stuck on my mind all the time. I'm not going to keep my business not working the way I want it to on my mind all the time. I'm not going to keep this burnout as an entrepreneur on my mind all the time. I'm going to create this 10x vision. I'm going to go after it. I'm going to live in the 20%. I'm going to live in the 20%. I'm going to have this inner circle. Like, imagine how good that will be for us as individuals, then us as a collective, like the physician community. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. So share it with another doctor. You can text them. You can post them in the groups where it's okay to post in groups. You can share it on social media, #EntremD, #EntremD ambassador. You can, like, you're talking to your friends, you tell them, listen, you just need to go check out the podcast. And oh my goodness, let's do this together. And thank you. I'm so grateful that we are doing this together. All right. So I'll see you, my friend, on the next episode of the EntremD podcast. If you enjoy listening to the EntremD podcast, you have to check out the EntremD Business School. It's the #1 business school for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. You get the coaching, the accountability, and the community you need to do the work so you can thrive. To find out if this is your best next step, book a call with my team, EntremD.com/call. That's EntremD.com/call. I can't wait to celebrate all the wins we can create together.